Capcom. While it might not seem like it now, as companies like Arc System Works exist, they were once the probably kings of fighting games. However, on this edition, Day 4 of Oddly Specific Top 10 List Week, today we look at Capcom's forgotten fighting games. Because they got games like Street Fighter and Marvel vs. Capcom, but then there are these. Anyways, hi guys, DPX here. Welcome to the top 10 forgotten Capcom fighting games. Before we get started though, you know what to do. Be sure to subscribe if you're new, hit the bell, and leave a comment, or I'll put disc lock content on your fucking game.
I wanted to give to you, in the last part of your notes here, the significant spiritual number 10 in the Bible.
Now, most of these games are regarded as fantastic games or game franchises that Capcom forgot about, or even we forgot about. However, when it comes to Plasma Sword, not too many people like this game. Plasma Sword, Nightmare of Bilstein, I don't know, is a 3D weapon-based fighting game, and may or may not be a sequel to another game on this list. It's an alright game, but mostly has mixed reviews, which is why it's only at number 10, and it's also a sequel, maybe. But certainly a game that you probably have no idea exists before this. Onimusha is a great franchise that in and of itself has been forgotten by Capcom, but that's not a fighting game. However, would it surprise you if I told you that Onimusha not only had a fighting game, but a Smash clone? That's right, Onimusha Blade Warriors is a game that actually exists and is a Smash clone, but this time with Onimusha characters, a life bar, and also it's a 3D fighting game. This game's sheer existence is just strange, but the game isn't too bad. Huh.
So I'm going to be giving this flavor 8.5 out of 10 scoops.
We all know about the Capcom vs. series, whether if it's against SNK, Tekken, or of course, Marvel. But remember when Capcom went up against Tatsunoko? In fact, better question, do you even know about Tatsunoko? I didn't before this game, to be honest, but Tatsunoko is an anime company, so they own a lot of anime, rather niche anime too. I don't think I've heard of a single one of these before. They went up against Capcom in a fighting game on the Wii, as an exclusive no less, and while no one really ever asked for this game, the game is pretty solid. Sure, not as good as the Marvel vs. Capcom games, but quite a solid game, but was strangely forgotten.
36.
Very close, but that's not it. Let's go to Gary the Retard. What number between 2 and 4?
7.
Hey, if you ever played Marvel vs. Capcom 2, you know who Jin Saotome is? You probably wondered what game he is from. Well, Jin Saotome is from a game called Cyberbots Fullmetal Madness. Cyberbots Fullmetal Madness is a really cool fighting game, even on paper. You select a giant mech and just duke it out one-on-one. It was released in arcades, but didn't exactly catch on, and while it made its way to PS1 and Sega Saturn, that still didn't really do much for it. Unfortunate, because Cyberbots Fullmetal Madness is actually a pretty sick game.
Okay, Mrs. Puff, what's my final score?
6.
Remember when I said that Plasma Sword may or may not have been a sequel to another game on this list? Well, that game is Star Gladiator. Unlike Plasma Sword, Star Gladiator was much better received. In fact, in Japan, Game Machine listed Star Gladiator on their September 1st, 1996 issue as being the 16th most successful arcade game of the year. That's quite impressive. Unfortunately though, Star Gladiator hasn't really been remembered too well by anyone, including Capcom. It's a 3D fighting game, and most 3D games in general from that time haven't aged the best either. Kinda sucks, especially since the game seemed to be so very well liked.
Chills. Literal chills.
It was number 5. Number 5 killed my brother.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
I've made it clear that I kind of like wrestling, you know. I've also made it clear that I like fighting games. And I've also made it clear that I like Capcom games. Now let's have Capcom make a wrestling game, which is basically a fighting game. And you get Saturday Night Slam Masters. Saturday Night Slam Masters is a wrestling game that came out in the 90s when wrestling was all the rage. And you play as wrestlers that are big, buff, and larger than life. Hell, Mike Hagar from Final Fight is even playable in this game, which is pretty sick. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Capcom are regarded as the king, or at least the former king of fighting games. They have Street Fighter and the Capcom Vs series, but I feel like with a little more of a push, Darkstalkers really could have become one of Capcom's biggest fighting game franchises, but unfortunately not. I feel like Darkstalkers is a franchise a lot of people probably heard of, but not one that people really know too much about. If that's not the case, then maybe Morgan. Really, just damn. And she has also become a mainstay in Marvel vs. Capcom, along with seeing other characters from Darkstalkers in Marvel vs. Capcom, like Felicia, Senko, and Jeddah. But unfortunately, Darkstalkers hasn't really ever become that big. Capcom tried bringing it back with Darkstalkers Resurrection, but that didn't go so well. Sad. Believe it or not, surprisingly, Onimusha Blade Warriors isn't the only 3D Smash clone on this list, as we also got Power Stone. Power Stone is so much fun. It's basically Smash but in 3D, and the items come into major use. There were 2 Power Stone games on the Sega Dreamcast, but nobody played them because, well, Sega Dreamcast, and it kind of flopped. The 2 games were later ported to PSP, but still, nobody played them. It sucks, especially now that we see that Capcom doesn't even touch this series, but in a Capcom leak a year ago, it listed a bunch of games Capcom have in the pipelines for the next few years, and one of those games listed was Power Stone. Whether or not that's Power Stone 3, or a remake, or a remaster, or whatever, it at least shows that Capcom does remember Power Stone. Nice.
What kind of pencil do we take again?
Number 2. Take a number 2.
Looks like you took a big number 2.
Unlike Power Stone, however, one game that Capcom does not at all remember is Rival Schools. Rival Schools is a 3D fighting game, the second of Capcom's after Star Gladiator, and it gained a bit of a cult following. Not many people remember Rival Schools, but the ones that do love it. However, Rival Schools only has one game, and that is Rival Schools United by Fate. And even with a guest appearance from Sakura from Street Fighter, it seems that Capcom completely forgot about this game's existence. And that sucks because it's awesome.
I'm a Luigi, number 1.
As a huge Mega Man fan, wanna know one thing I've always wanted? A Mega Man fighting game. That would work tremendously. However, what would you think if I told you that such a game already exists? Yep, Mega Man The Power Battle is an actual game that exists and is a game I am dying to play. It was an arcade game and was only released in Japan, which is probably why nobody even knows about this game. It even got a sequel called Mega Man 2 The Power Fighters. I've never gotten to play this game, but I would certainly love to one day because this is an excellent idea for a video game and a fighting game, and that's why it comes in at number 1. So that is the top 10 forgotten Capcom fighting games. And what do you guys think? Did you even know about some of these games? I doubt you knew about Mega Man The Power Battle. I really didn't. Until I did some research. Anyways, be sure to come subscribe, or I'll put Dislock content in your game. Bye!